Hi Year 5s, ready for the next instalment of Cosmic. We are now on the chapter, The Moon, You Idiot. Imagine you've scrunched up a piece of paper in one hand, then you open your hand and the paper opens up like a flower. That's what takeoff feels like. But soon we began to level off. Florida said, "Are we there yet?" Then Max said, "Are we there yet?" And soon they were all saying, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" I tried to shush them in case there was an important message from Drax Control. Then there was a ding-dong sound in my headset and a nice reassuring voice in my ear said, "Hello, Mr. Digby. My name is Lee. I'm your flight controller for today." "Nice to meet you, Lee." "You too. Any questions, just ask me. Right now you can relax. If you like, you can deflate your takeoff outfits and enjoy the weightless environment." I said, "Crew, you may now deflate your escape suits." They all yelled, "Yay!" And I felt not just Dudley, but actually captainish. We started to float around the cabin, propelled by the air from the deflating suits. In zero gravity, we really were like a family of novelty balloons. Last time we were weightless, it had only lasted a couple of minutes, so this time we bobbed about enjoying it, waiting for it to stop. But it didn't stop. Max did ask me if it was time to start our first task. I said, "Soon." I was too happy being a balloon to bother being the grown-up just then. A few minutes later, the reassuring voice spoke in my ear again. "Mr. Digby," it said, "we have a glitch. The release for the protective shield hasn't worked. There is an override button on the multifunctional display. It's a black button in the top right-hand corner. Can you see it?" I could. "If you could press that when I tell you." This was completely cosmic. Something had gone wrong and I was putting it right. I didn't mention it to the others. I didn't want to panic them. The voice said, "Now." I pressed the button. There was a sound like a door shutting somewhere far away. The capsule rocked a little bit. Then everything went bright. Our protective outer panels had blown away. Now we had windows. We could see the rejected panels tumbling away from us into space. "Great job, Mr. Digby," Lee's voice crackled in my ear. "Every mission has one glitch. You've just had yours. Now take it easy and enjoy the view." The view, by the way, was Earth. Not all of it, not to start with, less than a quarter of it. We were still so close that the quarter filled the window. Because we were high up, I thought we'd be looking down, but really it felt more like looking up. And all we could see was blue. It was completely the bluest ever blue, except for bands of cloud and veins and green on the surface of the sea. We were looking at the southern Pacific. Max was thrilled by the rejected safety panels. "Look at them go," he yelled. "They're like torpedoes." I said, "I did that." "What?" "When Drax Control tried it, it didn't work. I had to press a special button." "Did you really?" said Florida, adding, "Dad." "Next time," growled Max, "it's my turn." "No," said Hassan, "next time it's my turn." In their heads, we were an X-Wing fighter and the Earth was a Death Star. In all our heads, the whole thing was so cosmic, it had to be a game. I discovered that if I pushed my feet against the wall, I could flit clear across the cabin, spin round, and kick off again from the opposite wall like Spider-Man flying around New York. Then Florida popped up in front of me, making a buzzing sound with her mouth and miming a few passes with an imaginary lightsaber. Looking back on it, I should have focused more on being Dudley at this point, because that's when Drax Control came on, asking for us to move on to our task. "You have a 2-minute window to complete the task. Please commence now." All we had to do was press the right buttons in the right order. Then we'd be set for the trip home. Hassan and Max were still arguing about it. Samson too put his hand up and said, "Please, sir, I'd also like to press the button," which was enough to get both Hassan and Max shouting at him. Maybe I should have just done it myself, but I was loving being a floaty Super Mario Matrix Jedi Power Ranger, which is why I said, "Let's settle it with lightsabers," and took a buzzing swipe at them. They ducked and they bobbed up again, looking a bit confused. I realised now that they'd probably never seen Star Wars. They'd definitely never seen a dad trying to make a crucial life or death decision with an imaginary lightsaber. I shouted, "Luke, I am your father." Florida thought this was hilarious and shouted, "You are not my father." "And you are not Luke." We were buzzing and laughing and laughing and buzzing. Then Max noticed Sam was closing in on the buttons. He yelled, "Hey, he's cheating," and went after him. Samson too dived in underneath them. Next thing, they were pulling and shoving each other in front of the multifunctional displays. And the next thing after that, a long screeching noise. Then a jolt, as though we'd been caught on a bungee. Then we spun round, and round, and round, and over and round, fast and random, like the cage of the cosmic, and a light strobed off and on like blue lightning. And somewhere in the middle of it, the voice of Drax Control was shouting in my ear. Then it stopped. Then it shouted. Then it stopped again. The earth vanished, and then came back, then vanished, and then came back. And then we stopped rolling, and earth was gone. No one said a word. We drifted over to the window and pressed our faces against the glass, looking for some sign of it. It was very quiet and very dark and very, very scary. It didn't take Samson too long to work out what had happened. The buttons had been pressed in the wrong order. The dandelion's protective cover had blown off and its silvery sails had popped out, but it had not separated from the command module. The solar sails had opened unexpectedly. That was the metallic screeching noise, and immediately picked up a gust of solar wind. The sails were designed to push the dandelion gently forward, but our command module was still stuck to the top of the dandelion. Instead of gliding off nicely towards the moon orbit, the dandelion had gone spinning over on its side and pulled us off course. The sails weren't acting like sails on a ship. They were more like the sails on a windmill spinning us round and round, and it was taking us with it. We couldn't see the earth out of the window, but we did see a thing that looked like a satellite dish go by and something like an aerial. Our satellite dish and our aerial, which was when I realised I couldn't hear Drax Control in my earpiece anymore. All our communication equipment had snapped off. They all started yelling and blaming each other and pushing and shoving under weightless conditions is more long-winded than it is on Earth. You push someone and it takes them a few minutes to get back to you with a shove. I was going to join in when I noticed a message window flashing on the monitor. A message? Maybe we'll be all right after all. The message was permanent fatal errors. I could still hear them fighting and shouting behind me. I was going to yell too, something like, "We are now completely doomed and it's totally all your fault." But when I turned to face them, they were all looking at me like I would know something, like I would know what to do, like I was their dad, like the end would never come as long as I was there. "Is there a message?" said Samson too. "Yes." "What does it say?" I could have told him. "The message is permanent fatal errors, so we're dead. And by the way, I'm not a dad, I'm a kid, so stop looking at me like that." These children, Hassan, Samson too, Max, their dads weren't looking out for them at all. Their dads made them do all this stuff to make them cleverer or richer or more successful, and then they'd be packed off to doom in space. But still, they thought someone somewhere would be looking out for them. In the circumstances, it felt like that should be me. I thought, okay, you lot are my mission. I am engaged. I turned off the monitor and said, "Everything's going to be okay. We just need to find Earth and then we'll go back home." Florida hadn't noticed till then. Now she screamed, "Oh my God, the Earth has gone. What have you done with the Earth, you idiot?" "It hasn't gone. It's just not very visible at the moment. Don't worry, it'll turn up." "How do you know?" said Samson too. "What if it doesn't?" "Because all Florida stuff is there. The Playmobil Viking ship, slightly leaky Super Soaker, and the It's Your Solar System glow-in-the-dark mobile. I don't know what made me start listing stuff, but it worked. It reminded them about the Earth, how real and big it was. It made them see it in their heads, and they started adding things to the list until they calmed down and finally went to sleep. The bright blue sleeping bags are attached to the wall. Hanging there with their heads lolling, the children looked like they were sleeping in a row of Christmas stockings. And I'm the only one awake, like I'm Father Christmas or their guardian angel or something. And just now the cabin suddenly filled with light. It came flooding in like water. Sunlight. The thing is, if there is all this sunlight coming in, which wasn't coming in before, that means that until now the sun was behind something. and that can only be the Earth, can't it? The Earth. I still can't see it, but now I know it's there. I closed the filter on the observation window. I didn't want the kids to wake up yet. There's a hatch in the floor just in front of the multifunctional displays, the hatch that leads to the Dandelion module. I thought I'd go down there and look through the Dandelion's windows. I might even be able to see the Earth from there. I fiddled with the catch. It was simple enough. It was only when it was actually moving I suddenly thought, what if it doesn't lead to the Dandelion? What if it goes straight to the outside, to the waste of space? If it does, we'll all be sucked out by the pressure differential and our heads will explode. Luckily, that didn't happen. Inside the Dandelion, it was surprisingly unrockety. 3 rows of seats, 2 massive windows. It really was like being inside an unusually spacious ice cream van. The good news was there was a lot. Cupboards full of food and drinks. The bad news was that even with those massive windows, you still couldn't see the Earth. There was a massive thing between us and the sun, but it wasn't the Earth. Something moved behind me. Florida. She'd come down into the ice cream van. Then, "Oh my God," she said, pointing out of the window. "Do you know what that is?" I nodded and said, "I think I may have seen it before." "That," said Florida, "is the moon, you idiot."